Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business to business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. Today, I am here with Charlie Key of Losant. I said that correctly with my Philadelphia accent and everything. It's not Losant, it's Losant, which is an IoT, Internet of Things application enablement platform, which we will get into what the heck that means a little bit later because that's a mouthful right there. But you're based out in Cincinnati. You've also done a bunch of stints in Fortune 500 companies. So you've done the cog thing and you've done the entrepreneurial thing. So I think that's always fascinating to people. So, hey, Charlie, how's it going?
It's great. It's great. Absolutely. Thanks for having me on here, and it's a pleasure. So, I've been a little bit of everywhere, so it's been a fun journey.
Yes, absolutely. So, when did you start Losant? When did that all start up?
Well, we are recording today on the 18th. Tomorrow will be our 7th year anniversary.
Wow. So
Yeah.
October. So it'll be since this is coming out later, but it'll be October 19th.
Yep. October 19th will be
That's
our
awesome.
7th year anniversary. So
You made it past the 5, which is awesome.
Yeah, and startup world that's kind of old,
You're an old
but
startup.
it's and it feels older than that, having gone through the COVID
Oh my God.
journey and everything that's come with that, and supply chain issues and everything else. So
I
it's
can only
been
imagine.
it's been a fun time, journey of ups and downs. But yeah, we're 7 years old. Myself and my other two co-founders,
Yeah.
we've known each other for almost 20 years. Well, actually,
Oh,
over 20 years now.
that's good because I mean you kind of want to be able to trust the person you're working with. So
100%. I think that's one of the biggest entrepreneurial things is when you're starting a company, you have to put inherent trust in the other people sitting around the table. And it's more of, you have to trust that they're going to do their job.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and you have to learn to not step into that all the time, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
you
think
want
that's a
to
big
stay in
part
your
of the
lane.
journey. Yeah.
Stay in your
So
lane, not do your thing well, and let hire for the rest, partner for the rest, all that good stuff.
yep.
So let's go back a little bit. Have you always been interested in entrepreneurship, or has it been like, oh, I have an idea, I want to run with it 7 years ago?
No, I think I've always been very interested in entrepreneurship, especially the idea of building something from the ground up.
Yeah.
It goes back to college, and maybe even a little bit before that. But I remember very distinctly in college of, hey, this is a very interesting thing, entrepreneurship in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I went to an engineering school, and
Okay.
our
Yeah.
entrepreneurship classes were not robust. It wasn't like you were getting a true education on startups
Yeah,
or
exactly. But
entrepreneurship. And so
back when we were kids in college, the whole startup ecosystem was a little different. So
it was very different. It was very different. Like, you know, now you can walk out with in a lot of places, a really good understanding of what it means to be an entrepreneur and stuff. And
hmm
back then it was like, it just meant like building something and making a company and, you know, being an engineer. You know, I was very much on the engineering side is that, that idea of building something was building that they will come kind of
yes,
mentality,
yeah, absolutely.
which is not true. Let me
Yeah,
spoil the ending here. It is
dum dum
not
dum.
true.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, always really wanted to jump
very
into
rarely true. Sometimes you
very
build.
rarely, very
Everyone's one of there's a unicorn out there that everyone flocks to, but most people, it doesn't work that way.
right, exactly. You know, uh, there's usually a lot of hard work around everything else on what you've built from a go to market and marketing and sales and
hmm
branding and everything. All of these things that you don't think about, especially as an engineer starting a company. You
Yeah,
know, so yeah, it was something that I've always wanted to do, and slowly have dipped toes and really then jumped in. I'd say head first in 2012 with our
yeah.
last company, and
Okay.
that was kind of our first real big journey into the entrepreneur startup world.
And was that in IoT space as well, or was that something completely different?
No, it was a platform
Okay.
for scaling applications. So, you know, it had similarities from a technology standpoint,
Yeah.
but was very much focused on scaling any broad
Mm,
applications built on top of Node.js, and really,
okay.
you know, and so it was a platform as a service. So you basically you know, uploaded your application to us, and we helped scale that across
Oh,
multiple
that's well.
infrastructures globally. And so that was a pretty good success. We ended up selling that company to
Ooh,
Progress Software, which
a
is
nice exit, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, and a public company out of the Boston area. And so went and worked with them for a few years,
You kind of have to go
and
back in as a cog for a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you do, and and it's a very different feeling, especially having, you know, gone from that kind of entrepreneur, and now you're going back to a cog,
Yeah.
and it's a very different world. Having seen the
hmm
dichotomy of what can happen, and so
Absolutely.
started to see IoT pop up there. Right,
Ah.
companies were talking about it, they were thinking about it, they were trying to build some one-off applications, and you know, just to go back even further, my family has grown up in the manufacturing world,
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
so looking at what's happening in that space, in the industrial space, and these
hmm
customers and how they're looking at IoT, really started to spark our interest and kind of what is happening in this space, and how are people trying to do this stuff, and how are people building applications and solutions, and what are the tools they're using to do it. And so we just spent some time in the market and trying to understand how people were doing it, and
That's wild. Yeah.
what software they were using. And so that kind of slowly led us into to start Losant.
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey there, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. Real quick, I want to make sure you know that the world's leading B2B Marketing Expo is returning to the Los Angeles Convention Center on March 21st and 22nd. It's high time we got back together to learn, see the latest technologies and solutions, and network, right? Join thousands of marketing professionals just like you to learn from over 250 industry expert speakers, educational masterclasses, and over 300 exhibitors. And this year, your ticket also gets you into the Sales Innovation Expo and the Marketing and Advertising Expo. So it's like 3 conferences in one. It's March 21st and 22nd at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Go to b2bmarketingexpo.us to register. That's b2bmarketingexpo.us. The Marketing Podcast Network is a proud partner of the B2B Marketing Expo for 2023. We'll see you in LA.
That's awesome. And so, went to school for engineering. So you've done some Fortune 500 companies there. So you've seen that, like how the big corporate political system works in there, and like whose feathers you don't want to ruffle at what time and all that. So
Mhm.
what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Oh, the best thing about being an entrepreneur is I think the speed at which you can try to solve problems, and I don't just mean customer problems, which are the most fun to solve, I
Yeah,
think.
oh, of course, yeah.
But just any problem that pops up inside of your business, inside of your world, you have the opportunity to move with speed and agility to solve those.
Absolutely.
And I find that problem solving probably the most fun is
That's
being an
great.
entrepreneur.
That's awesome. And so then what keeps you up at night? What's the worst thing about being an entrepreneur? And you can do more than one thing if you want, like what keeps you up at night?
It depends on the day, right?
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Yeah.
We've got our team's about 40 people or so. So,
Wow.
I think number one is just making sure that our team is one, that we have money in the bank, right? Like you're a
That's a big
startup,
thing. That's a big thing, absolutely.
so you don't want to have to worry about those things, but just make sure our team is pointing in the right direction, and that we're thinking about the business in the right way and trying to solve the right problem. So team is a big part of that, right? Like, it's just making sure all those components are right. I think the other one is just trying to solve the problems. I spend a lot of time thinking about the problems that we have in the business and where we can improve. And, those are the things that keep me up at night most of the time is, okay, how do we build better awareness for the business? How do we build better lead generation? Are we attacking this market the right way, right? Is the macroeconomics of the current world, is that going to have an impact, right? Like,
that's a big one that keeps everyone up at night right now. Yeah.
Right. So it's those problems and challenges that keep me up at night. And, again, those are the fun problems to kind of think about and work on, but they are big.
They're definitely big. And Losant does IoT application enablement. So are you building out the IoT devices? Are you enabling? Like, what the hell does that mean?
That's a great question. And it's a terrible way to describe, it's one of those analyst terms, right? Like somebody at IDC or Gartner was like, oh, we've got it. We figured it out, how to bucket these things together.
Yeah.
The way I like to put it is we focus on all of the software to help companies build IoT products and solutions. That starts down at the edge. So helping collect data, ingest that data from devices, from equipment. We work a lot in the enterprise space. So you're going to think maybe a building system or an engine or a compressor. How do you get data from that? So our software down there, gather that data, store that data, be able to process it, visualize it.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Put it in dashboards, analyze it. And then really a big focus of what we do is enable our customers to deliver that data to their customers in a meaningful experience, right? That's how that quote unquote application enablement all comes together, right? We're enabling those applications, but really it's all of the core software to help build and deliver these products and services for our customers.
Oh, that's fun. Once you understand the term, it's very fun.
Yeah.
Before you're like, say what?
Yeah. And the funny thing is we work with hundreds of different pieces of hardware, and
I'm sure you have a whole room full.
We do. It's actually right over my shoulder here. And we've got boxes and boxes of hardware that have been tested and used from customers and others, projects.
That's
and
kind of
everything.
fun.
So, yeah,
it's kind of fun. So if your kid has a school project, and you're like, well, I got a Raspberry Pi or two in the office, we can bring it home.
Yeah, we've also got a electric motor if you need it, or a small windmill.
So the kids are all set for their science projects.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, I need an XYZ turbine, and you're like, I got it.
Yeah,
like,
and then we've got the Lego Millennium Falcon here too. So
of course, it was a startup after all. Come on now.
Yeah.
You gotta have the fun stuff. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Physically or mentally?
It can be both. You can do both if you want.
For me, physically, it is mostly a credit card.
Yeah, you need that, yeah.
And a driver's license, right? Yeah. With those two things, you can mostly solve most physical issues.
Yes.
Mentally, I think it's really important to stay optimistic.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
And it's very easy to stray away from optimism, especially, over the last several years, you've had many opportunities to be pessimistic about what's happening. I try to work personally very hard to try to stay mentally optimistic and try to carry that and portray that.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you're the boss man, the chief poobah, you need to be the optimistic head of the company. Otherwise, if you're down in the dumps, everyone else is.
Right. People say that very quickly. And I don't mean that as in like, don't be wildly illogically optimistic. It's having some realistic optimism about
absolutely
where the opportunities are and what we're doing.
Yeah. So Charlie, where can people find you online? Where's your watering hole?
I spend most of my time, interestingly enough, on LinkedIn.
What a surprise. Yeah.
I know. It's funny. It's like,
it's a fun platform. It's gotten more and more fun. So.
It's gotten way more fun. And the interactions are really been good. So I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, so that's a great place to find me. And then we've got a lot of stuff on our website at losant.com. We do a lot of webinars and a lot of speaking and a lot of events. I spend a lot of time on the road, especially as the world is coming back to life in a in-person scenario, I guess. That's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, Charlie, thank you for being on the program. This has been so much fun. I'm glad we got to connect, and we'll see everyone next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Seth.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network. You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Carrie Barrett hosts a great podcast called The VIQ Project. Carrie, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Okay, you know how you go to shoot a 2-minute video, except it takes 2 hours, you hate yourself on camera, you don't know what to do with it, and so it doesn't perform? You'll get all the tips and tricks you need to fix all of that on this podcast.
Wow, we're going to be lining up for this. Where can people subscribe?
You can find it on my website, which is carriebarrett.com. You can also find it if you search the VIQ Project Podcast on YouTube. Of course, you can find the show at marketingpodcasts.net, or you can subscribe and search for the VIQ Project Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.